What are some ways that people can get a little bit of separation a little from the thoughts that they feel like maybe are plaguing their mind?
Yeah, there are lots of fun techniques for this. And it starts with the basic sort of self distancing, what we call it, which is even the way that you hear your thought or think about your thought, instead of, oh, tonight's going to be a disaster, or oh, that was stupid that I said that, or oh, I bet she's mad that I didn't email her back. Label that as a thought first. I'm having the thought that tonight's going to be a disaster. I'm having the thought that she's mad at me. That's that first step. And it seems silly and small, but really it reminds your brain, wait a second, that thought is not actually necessarily my reality. And you can take this a step further by talking about it in the third person. And this is where people really get a kick out of it. They say, seriously. But I have some clients right now that are like, this is really working. So instead of, Andrea thinks that she's going to be a bozo on this interview, or actually that's what you want to say, right? Is Andrea thinks that, she's doing a bad job at parenting today, or, Andrea's having the thought that she's a terrible mother. And it sounds so silly, but it does give us that one extra step of distance when we talk about it in the third person, because it reminds us to be an observer. And then you can get even funnier with, thinking about different ways to experience your thoughts. So if you have this, nagging thought, it keeps coming back, it keeps coming back. I can't believe I did that. Why did I accidentally write that in an email to my boss? You can turn that thought into something with, a funny voice. Some of my clients have characters, right? And we're kind of afraid of doing this at times, like, oh, I don't want to have voices inside of my head. But, I have clients that have like the heckler in the mental audience, and they literally will take some of those negative thoughts that keep coming back and they'll turn them into the voice of the drunken guy at the comedy club who's just heckling and heckling. You're really stupid. I can't believe you said that. That's not a good performance at all. And they'll label it that, and they'll hear it in that voice, and it seems silly, and yeah, it kind of makes them laugh, but that's not really the key. The key is also that you're recognizing that this is not an objective truth, that this is a lens that you can choose to look through, but it's no more valid or accurate than your average heckler, right? It doesn't make much sense. Or maybe more general worries you can even see more visually. I have clients that talk about their worry blob, like, okay, I can see the worry blob coming, and it's dark and it's gray. And maybe figuring out where you feel it in your body can really up the mindfulness too. Okay, the worry blob, it's settling into my chest, and it feels like a weight, and I can feel my heart getting heavier with this worry blob. And when you know exactly how you feel it in your body, then you can take really good steps to counteract that in the moment. Okay, let me do some breathing. Let me do some neck rolls that reduce my tension. Let me take, some visualization moments to actually help this worry blob disappear, and I can watch it try to disappear in my head. And I mean, people turn thoughts into songs. They write them down in a different language. I mean, there's no limit to the types of techniques, and the book talks about a lot of them, because once people find what works for them, it really is remarkable to see them develop the habit and then put it into practice regularly. And with acceptance and commitment therapy, we're really seeing that it really works best when the sole goal is not, okay, make the thoughts go away. These techniques
Yeah.
are going to eradicate the thoughts. That's kind of missing the point. The point is actually to make the thoughts less powerful. And so I think leaning into that is really important, because if people think they're going to do 2 rounds of diaphragmatic breathing and then their worries are gone forever, that's going to be a disappointment. Whereas they're going to notice instead with the breath, do I feel a little more engaged in the moment right now and more open to the experience, even of having these worries? They don't seem so scary.
Mm.
Or maybe they're going to disappear a little bit more quickly, but I'm not going to count on that as the sole goal here, because the goal is actually for me to be able to coexist with these worries and feel empowered to move through them. And the happy side effect is that in time, the worries will come less often, because
Mhm.
they don't really have a purpose anymore. You're not going to notice them as much when they're not as bothersome. It's like they just become something that doesn't really click with you. And so you don't attune to it. But I think that people, go that my worries are going to, completely disappear, then you have to think about how rigid that is as a thought and how that goes completely against the idea of being open to these more difficult emotions.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Janla Van Zant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.